Okay. Now, I've got my special guest here who happens to be my board operator as well. That's Trey Wallace.
I don't think I qualify as a special guest anymore, dude.
You're always a special guest, man. When you're on the air, you're always a special guest. When you're talking to me between 11:30 and 11:50, you're a special guest. Okay. Trey, we got you on here because last night it's the first time you've been to the range.
Yep.
And
I'd actually been to the store once before, but I'd never actually gone to the range.
okay, but it's more important that you're doing it with your son. So let's talk about it. Just give us your impression. Let's go through it, see what you thought. And
Well, first, a little background. My boy is 12. He'll be 13 next month. Okay, so and all that entails with a teenage boy. Sometimes we don't always hang out or get to spend time because he's all like, "Oh my God, Dad, really?" But every once in a while, we'll find something that we both can kind of enjoy and actually spend time. He's got a little sister, and he's always wanting to hang around with his friends or his granddad or whatnot. So, the times when we get together aren't common, and I really enjoy them. One of these times happened to be going to the gun store, the range, and we showed up a little bit before 8 when the round robin was just winding down. So there's lots of people just sitting in the little sitting room. I don't know what you call that, your lobby or whatnot.
you can call it whatever you want. It's where people sit.
But I knew a lot of them because I'm from the area. But there was a lot of people I didn't recognize. But all of them were friendly. A lot of times you walk into a new place that's kind of got that club
Cliquish type of thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good way of putting it. Cliquish feel, and they're not very welcoming. But most people there were just really, hi, how you doing? Waving, smiling, that sort of thing. And that was fantastic. Of course, you weren't there in that part because I guess you were dealing with the shooters for the closing of the round robin. But you came out, you saw me, you made sure everything was cool, and you said, "I'll be right with you," whatever. So yeah, the first impression, of course, is that it's a fairly friendly place.
Yeah, there's a lot of people there that are so willing to give to each other. We had Butch Downey on last week, and he's one of the shooters, and you saw him.
I did.
And he basically came on saying that it's his first. He's not really good with a handgun, and he came here and he wanted to get his license. And the same concept. All these people are so friendly, willing to share, help, knowledge, equipment, the whole works. So it's really it's a nice place. Another friend of mine, Mike, he would always contrast places as one's a clinical type of place. You walking around like you got lab coats on or something, as compared to a friendly
There was
environment.
nothing clinical about your gun range. It's very.
It's
I want to say rural, because you get that whole air. Everybody knows everybody, or everybody, even if they don't know you, they act like they know you. They're willing to know you, which is really kind of a nice feel.
Look, I own the range, and I go into different ranges, and I feel immediately.
Keys.
I feel constrained. I feel like I'm a number.
Oh no, I get that. You're a customer.
I'm a customer.
You're not a. I have this whole thing where there's a difference between a customer and a client. A customer is someone that's there to give you money and get your product. A client is someone that you take care of. You don't just want their business right then. You want them to give you their business next time. You want them to want to bring their family, to recommend you to their friends and the people that they think are important, so that you can continue to build that sort of client base. It's called build your client base, not your customer base.
I can pick almost anybody there and say, "Hey, you're in charge while I'm in the range," and put them behind the counter and not bat an eyelash, because there's that camaraderie, that teamwork, that friendship, the
trust
you build up. It's a friendly environment. I mean, when I built the place, I built it in a manner that it was all under one roof. You'd have the retail shop, which I don't do very much of anymore. I kind of trimmed it down to about 5% retail.
I was gonna say, it looks less like a retail and more like a display.
Yeah, that's what I changed it to. I changed from, actually, I do product selling online, but when it comes to the actual location there, at brick and mortar establishments, it's difficult. You got to be in a larger populated area. So what I decided to do is go 95% training facility. So I don't have all the products for people to buy. But anyway, you go in there, you get to look around, enjoy it, and have a lot of fun. And the shooting range, we're going to talk about the shooting range in a minute, but I designed that because I'm a self-defense type of instructor. And I had a person there making a comment about it as well, that it's darker than many of the other shooting ranges that they've gone to. And I said I did that on purpose. I made it that dingy brownish looking color because when you're out on the street and it's at dusk and your light level for your sights isn't that great, well, I've got a great opportunity at this range to simulate that.
Or you're at the house and it's late at night and you've been asleep and you wake up. I mean, you're like, it's not daylight. You don't have bright light everywhere.
Right.
So.
And the other thing too, I've got adjustable lights there. So anyway, you're there with your son, and why don't you tell us about that? How it worked out, the way the facility's set up, and how the booths are a little bit larger, and how you can do things with your son there.
And I think people who've been listening to the show for a while have heard I'm not exactly a tiny person, and my boy, he's not a small fella either. But the booths he was able to shoot. I was able to stand there with him and watch him. And of course, one of the things his grandfather and I have both tried to instill in him is gun safety and the routine, the protocol, and trying to do it the same way every time. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you ever tried to get a 12 or 13-year-old to listen to you, but that could be a challenge in and of itself. But he did a real good job. Matt, his instructions were very plain, very simple. Police your own brass, obviously. Make sure your muzzle's always pointed down range. Stay within your cubicle. Don't go to someone else's slot. Just common sense type stuff. Mm-hmm. He's got the pulley set up fairly simple. If you're shorter, there will be a bit of a problem. And I want to real comment on that. There was a fella in the slot next to us that was shorter, and he couldn't necessarily reach real well. And I'm going to name drop here because he was there with his buddy Squirrel. Who
hey, Squirrel.
Squirrel's not exactly a tall fella, but I'm going to talk about Squirrel again later. But they were having a hard time, getting the target set up and whatnot. And of course, Butch. I don't know if any of you, of course, most people know Butch. He's not a short fella, but he didn't even hesitate to help. They said, "Hey, man, we're having a hard time reaching."
Well, I'll tell you what, because that Squirrel's been there a few times, but it's been separated from time. Underneath each booth are steps.
Oh.
And so if you're not familiar with it, that's what they're used for. So if somebody's got a little shorter and can't reach it, we have the step platforms to get you up there.
What jumped out at me, though, was the willingness for other people to help each other.
That's
just,
right.
Hey, yeah, it's this whole feel of, hey, we're all out here together. Yeah, I don't mind helping, sure. You may not know him from Adam, but he was willing to help, and that was really great. On that note, I had a bit of a mishap, not on the range itself, but as we were leaving, my battery died, like completely. And I came inside to let Matt know. Of course, Squirrel had been talking to Matt. He's like, you know what? And this is Squirrel. He's like, I'll help you, no problem. Oh, okay. And he, seriously, it didn't bother him at all. He just jumped out, moved his truck, come up, jumped me off. Real easy. And that's the sort of easy, like Matt used the word camaraderie, the easy camaraderie there was there. My first time there shooting, and nobody really recognized me but Matt and Butch. So even though they didn't recognize me, they sure.
But
didn't hesitate.
You can go to other gun ranges and you can have people of that caliber. The thing that we're making a difference of is the establishment allowing for that atmosphere to develop in a customer-oriented facility.
And it really wasn't just one person or two people there that were like that. I got the impression it was everybody there was like that.
Everybody's like that. That's right.
So it's less an exception and more a rule.
That's right. It's pretty cool, actually.
Oh, yeah.
You get to shoot everybody else's gun. You say, hey, man, that looks pretty cool. Can I try that? They go, sure, go ahead. Here's some ammo. I said, no, I don't want to burn your ammo. No, it's okay. Go ahead. You don't want to take advantage of that. You always want to be respectful of that. But they'll for sure let you shoot their guns as long as you keep feeding them. Because sometimes they get hungry. You got to feed them. Now, the couple guys, Squirrel and Don, when they came in, it's pretty much like you. If you had done the round robin, you would have been novice too. But you've heard about the round robin. They've heard about the round robin, but they actually participated in the round robin. And they go, wow, I keep hearing about it, but now that I've done it, wow. It's like I see how there's challenges there if you're not familiar with handling different guns. Because these guys are good shots. However, the shots were a little bit where they shouldn't have been for the first time because they weren't accustomed to a trigger that was different than theirs, or a gun that had a higher profile than theirs, or it's a little bit fatter than theirs, and they didn't know the little tricks of the trade of the common thread. So all these little things you get to learn on that particular competition. You should do it, Trey.
Actually, my boy's making a noise like he wants to try it.
And that's great because we got a couple young ladies there too, Russell's granddaughters, and they're doing a great job. I mean, two petite little girls, and here they are. They're handling these big firearms, and they're putting it on the paper and doing a darn good job, and within time. And sometimes they'll have a malfunction. They clear the malfunctions sometimes, and it's a lot of good training. Once again, that's homegrown people coming to the range, being taught by each and everybody else with the same concept. And I want to make a comment about the teaching element. There's many different methods to teach something, because I'm about to do a video on mag changes, changing mags, and you can look on YouTube and you're going to see a whole bunch of different videos on how to do it and different people's perspective on it. But you've got to find the common thread. If you can find the common thread, and here's my objective. My objective when it comes to training is it duplicatable? Can I teach you to the point where you can teach somebody else? Or am I showboating it and saying, see this, I'm changing my mag, but I do it in such a manner that showboating, it gets the job done.
Yeah, that's not teaching.
Yeah, it's showing off.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I got no problems with it all for you. But in a situation where you got to learn and get the basic elements and find the common thread, that's what we try to do. And it's good to see that all these people coming through Aaron's gun shop there and doing the competitions and all that are becoming more and more familiar with the common threads of guns, and they can pick up almost any handgun like it's their own. So it's pretty good. What kind of shooting did you do?
Well, we brought a little 22 revolver and a 22 semi-auto, and I let him burn through about 50 rounds total between the two, just shooting. Of course, being a 12-year-old, he tried to make it as easy as possible and set it out like 5 yards. And I let him go ahead and do it because, part of it was just be there and spend time together. And, of course, while I was doing it, I'm observing what he's doing. But after that, I slowed him down a bit. We policed our brass. And then I had him load just 10 rounds into the semi-auto and pushed the target out to about 15 yards. Which, by the way, Matt's real good about marking off the distances and letting you know, okay, this is your marker for 5 yards, this is your marker for 10 yards, this is your marker for 15, this is your marker for 25. And I set him up and let him burn through another 40 rounds, and as he went through, of course, his groupings got better, and by the end of it, by his last set of 10 rounds, he was within all of the same circle where he needed to be instead of all over the paper. So
I'm sure, when you have the opportunity to be able to just have everything there, the lights, the adjustable targets, and all that kind of stuff, it makes it where you can focus more on the shoot itself. Because you got a lot of ranges, outdoor ranges specifically, you got to wait till everybody stops firing, go down, change your targets, all this kind of stuff. So in the atmosphere that you're there, you get to do everything in that cubicle and not have to worry about pretty much anybody else.
That makes a huge difference. It's a lot different than setting up empty soda cans and milk jugs full of water.
Well, now that's fun too.
Well, yeah, that's fun, but it's you don't focus. You don't get to focus completely on the shooting. There's a lot of focusing on setting up your targets and counting off your steps so you know how far you are. And
now I want to be fair though. Going out there plinking like you're talking about, it's a fun day. You're out there, you got your barbecue going, you got your soda pop, the whole works, and you're just taking the time to be with each other, and you're setting up your targets, going back and forth. You talk, and you stand there, look, chatter, all this kind of stuff. But in a business like I've got, you still get the enjoyment of doing all that because you're there for only a short period of time, and everything's consolidated. You get to compact what you just did on the open field, but it's a lot of fun on the open.
And you get to focus more on the shooting, the technique.
Yeah.
And the added benefit, of course, places like your store, your range there, is you get the added benefit of other people's experience.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
They're always willing to help. If you had a question or an issue or something like that, they're always willing to help, which is really, that's pretty significant.
Now look, I'm not bad at shooting. I can shoot pretty decent. But when somebody comes in, I'm always watching and I'm always observing because you just said something. You're always learning. I'm always looking, didn't think about it that way. How can I apply it to what I do? So yes, you come there, you're going to see a whole bunch of different people. Depending on your level, novice or whatever, you can come in there and look at some people, and you can advance your shooting techniques greatly just by watching. Had a new shooter come in there last night during the competition, and he watched the first string and learned a whole bunch of techniques and applied it, and he did very well for his very first time. But I'll tell you what, that's just one person's experience with his son going to the range. We'd love to have you there. We're open Friday nights from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Why only one night? It's because I'm a training facility now primarily, and we do it by appointments and setting up for license to carry classes, the whole works. And so it's not open to the public except for Friday night, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. So put that on your calendar, mark it down so this way you can be there. And don't forget the dates. You got the first Friday of the month, that's 2 for 1. Bring somebody, they get to shoot for free. And the second one is the round robin. Third Friday of the month is ladies' night. Fourth Friday of the month, it's whatever you want. Okay, we'll figure out something. But Trey, let's take a break, and let's take a short break. I'll come back on with a couple announcements again, and then we're going to have the incredible Master Cindy Key doing something physically abusive to me, most likely. See you on the other side.